Did you watch any of them?
No.
What you want to know?
You
Didn't watch none of them.
I'm trying to give you gold, man, and you just throwing
Well,
it out.
That's right. Y'all act like I have no other chance to
gold,
watch
though?
any of these shows.
Utopia,
Utopia
the European
isn't gold.
version. The European version of Utopia. Number one, you started off with the American version. I told you that one was
I'm
not as
watching
good.
the European version, and they're both just
What,
meh.
what
They're
episode
just
you
okay.
on? What episode you on?
3.
Oh, man, come on.
3 on the second version of the same series.
You trust me. Just keep watching. Keep watching.
It's not that great. Did you watch Blackbird?
No.
That's where you falling down at.
Y'all act like I had like a time limit to watch these shows. Like y'all gave me
Well, you
1
watched
week.
the whole series of From in like 3 days.
That was luck. I watched one episode, it got me stuck, and I just like, all right, I gotta finish. See, when you have one of those shows where I have to know what's happening,
Yeah.
I gotta keep watching till I get my answers. And that show was good. It's almost like how The Walking Dead.
You
did.
get to Utopia pretty quickly.
The Walking Dead is like, man, look. You still watch Walking Dead?
No.
Do you?
I got off that.
Hell no.
narcotic.
I still want to know what happened though. Like, I need somebody to tell me this is what happened because
they drug that out. They was trying
remember,
to
Google it.
remember Rick?
Okay.
He was knocked out, all right? He's unconscious.
Yeah, but like Rick was already
Everything was
dead.
fine
Like,
before he was
just-
unconscious. Then he went to the hospital. He woke up and then the zombies. What happened between him being knocked out and the zombies appearing, or is it all a dream?
It was all a dream, man. Rick was already dead, and it was a dream.
Wait, that was the end?
No, I'm just fucking with y'all.
Man.
I mean, but tell me that if that's what happened. Tell me that.
have
That
no
would have been
idea.
all over. That would have been all over social media.
I never
I think it
finished
just kept going on and on. It was like they would get to like a new community. There was some new
Villain.
threat. There was some new villain.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it was.
that's
They're
kinda
trying to make money.
That's why I tell you with From, if they don't start giving answers soon, I'm gonna be gone.
Man, From is from the same producers of Lost, so
Yeah,
I never saw Lost, so I don't really know.
They're gonna drag that out.
Drag it out
They're
as
gonna
long
drag
as
it
they
out.
can. So, I mean, they answer a few questions and then give you 10 more questions.
Man, Lost was no joke. They would end every episode with a bang. You'd be like, "What? Nah, what happened?"
Yeah, nah.
I told you, Utopia. That's a quick, easy burn. You get through that quick.
It is, but it's. I mean,
I mean,
it's
Chris
just not
wasn't
satisfying.
in love with it, so it kind of just.
I mean, Chris been
Cool me
his
off.
recommendations
Watch
been kind of
Blackbird.
suspect to begin with, though.
What has been suspect?
What bangers have you dropped? What have you
Well,
given
what
us?
is it? Oh, that wasn't
What have
the
you given
question.
us?
What?
What have you
Watch
given
Blackbird.
us? He just said he's not watching Utopia because you said it was But what have you
Blackbird.
given us?
I watch Blackbird.
No, I'm talking about in the past. We have not seen Blackbird. But what have you given
I
us?
can't remember what I.
See? So how you gonna go off of his
The
recommendation?
old man wasn't bad, but it was.
He
The
was-
old
he
man,
The
was-
old man was alright.
It was all right. You got us on the old man. I was like, yeah, it was cool.
The guy has
I'll
cancer,
finish the
man.
season.
Like he has cancer. That's why they like haven't shot again. Like he's.
Oh, I don't know. Is that true?
Yes.
Oh, wow, I didn't know
That's
that. I mean, I'm just saying.
What
didn't
else
know
did I
that.
put you on?
They're gonna get morbid in here. You know, so.
I'm just telling you why they haven't shot. So that's why they had to suspend shooting. What else? But the old man was pretty good.
I ain't recommending it to anybody.
Exactly.
Welcome to First and 15, the only podcast that's trying to get you paid. I'm here with two-time FFPC champion AB. Alongside him is my guy, Dial the Machine. Guys, when we draft, we often take these running backs pretty high, and we assume that they're going to finish as the starting running backs on that team. As we start to get to those middle-tier rounds, we start to kind of push that idea of, hey, like, is this a guy that I should stash, I should hold on to? Can you guys think of a running back that you're drafting right now who is a backup running back who may finish the season as a starter?
I mean, so many, right? Like so many. That's
Yeah.
why we're drafting like these lottery tickets. So, I mean, we could rattle them off, right? Like the obvious one people been talking about now is like with the Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
People are a little,
A little shaky
about Alexander Madison. They think Ty Chandler or Dwayne McBride might take his job. So he's the obvious one everybody's talking about. But I mean, you have other people, names that, might be almost blasphemous to mention. But you have guys like Travis Etienne, who the team drafted a third round, a new regime, drafted a third round running back, a guy that can do everything. He can pass block, he can receive, he can run up the middle, all of that stuff. You have somebody like Brian Robinson, who last year around this time people kind of looked at him as a jack. He doesn't really have any special traits. I guess he's just somebody that's dependable, if you will. Yeah. But if you get a special talent, again, new offensive coordinator, his job is kind of dangerous. There's so many. Rashad White. And I'm not even saying there's a guy specifically there to take his job now.
But who's behind him? Chase?
Chase Edmonds, yeah, but then Sean Tucker too, who wasn't even drafted, so he really doesn't have a major threat now. But he's just somebody where everybody is kind of like a little bit iffy on.
But Isaiah Pacheco
with Deneric Rice, another great example. Somebody we could easily see.
Skipped over CEH, huh?
Easy.
I mean, I don't know.
You know, it's crazy. I heard a rumor recently.
CEH resurgence.
I don't even know where I heard it, and I want to give whoever said it credit. But they said that there's a chance CEH could get traded to the Bengals. I mean, there's a chance anything can happen, right? But they're saying that's like a little bit of smoke that's been out there, which actually can kind of make a little bit of sense, right? So that's that. The Saints, right? And then you start talking about teams that have these older running backs that might trade them away, like the Saints. Kamara might be traded. Derrick Henry could be traded. You're talking about now your Keandre Miller and then your Ty J. Spear type players. So, I mean, there's players all over the league that could easily, by the end of the year, end up as the starters that you're getting right now in the double-digit round. So
that takes me to my next question. How long do you stash these guys if you think that there's a possibility that...
I'm sorry. I forgot to mention one.
Who?
One of my favorites, Rashawn Johnson.
With
the Bears and Khalil Herbert.
The favorite.
And I'm saying these rookies, but in reality, they have these other guys too, like Deontay Foreman, who's a threat. Jamal Williams, you can say is a threat, right? So, no. But I'm sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah. So how long do you stash these guys? Like, if you think that there's a real possibility that they can become the starter mid-season, how long do you stash them? Or are you willing to stash them? Let's be honest.
I think, that's like a multi-layered question. I think, if you start off in the draft room, you drafted this team, you picked up a couple, let's call them handcuffs. Let's even start with the low level. Obviously you got the top tier handcuffs with, people are probably throwing guys like Elijah Mitchell, maybe your Jalen Warren, depending on how you view it. Those guys will probably never get dropped because they go early for a reason. So if you got them on your team, you probably spent significant draft capital on them, meaning that you felt like there was some scenario where if the starter went down or something else happened, that they could essentially take over a significant role where they can put you in your starting lineup. These are very different to me than like the Ty Chandler or Dwayne McBrides of the world who you draft so much later. So I think draft capital, just like in real life, plays a role in fantasy life as well. If I'm spending a 11th, 12th round pick on some guy, I probably had enough conviction to take him there and draft him over guys who are actually starting, who could actually, maybe, fill out a flex 2 spot, day one. So if I'm taking that guy that high, then I need to basically hold on to him for a bit.
But wait, but we're not talking about those guys though. You're talking about handcuffs that are valuable if the starter goes down.
That's what I'm saying. I'm starting off with a low level for
right.
Yeah.
I want you more so to talk about the guys that we think could take the job, like those just guys, outright take the job.
So I set that basis and that floor because if I'm reticent to drop an Elijah Mitchell, then there's no way in hell that I'm dropping Rashawn Johnson. That's just my ride or die. Yeah. We could, and inevitably this will probably happen. As soon as training camp opens, these depth charts will come out and he's going to be number 3 on the depth chart. But he can even literally opening day be number 3 on the depth chart or even not be suited.
Right.
And I'm going to hold on to him for quite a while.
Yeah.
I'll see what the running back, room looks like. If they bring anybody else in, they're suiting 3 running backs. Maybe one's just playing special teams. How does, Herbert look? How does Foreman look? How are they using them? Are they successful? And then try and get a good gauge, okay, if he's just going to be a practice squad guy, an inactive guy, I'm 5 weeks into the season and the other guys look like they're pretty decent or they brought in another vet and this is not the year, then I'll cut bait.
About 5 weeks is what you're saying. So you get about 5 weeks.
Yeah, it depends. Like all those like factors kind of play in.
Mm-hmm.
Like if he's suiting up, but he's just not playing, then I may just wait longer.
Yeah.
And if say Herbert looks ineffective, maybe say they actually give Herbert like the kind of the lead role, in between the tackles. They give him that lead role, and he looks good. Then maybe 5-6 weeks goes to 4 to 5 weeks if he's inactive. Mm-hmm. But if he's active, Herbert doesn't look good. Foreman is looking kind of shaky. I may wait 7-8 weeks.
Yeah.
It just kind of all depends. But honestly, for a guy like that, I'm likely just not dropping him at all. Because, again, this is another factor. There's so many factors with these guys. He's on a team that, to me, is likely not going to be playoff bound.
Who are we talking about?
Roshan Johnson specifically.
Okay, I got you.
So a guy like that, I'm thinking like on teams where I'm like, okay, they're not going to be competitive. Once they are eliminated from the playoffs,
start giving young guys looks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they want to start giving young guys looks.
Yeah,
so you want those guys because those are the guys week 15, 16, 17 that it's really just, even if it's just one game, can be significant.
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, so y'all know with me, I'm always preaching, talent over everything. And, that's my dynasty side kicking in, right? Always trying to accumulate talented players. But it's kind of the same thing when you're looking at these late rounds, right? Like all these backup running backs, and we talked about this a few episodes back. I don't really care for the backup or the handcuff running backs that I don't think are good. Because even if the starter goes down, opportunity is always king with running backs. But still, we've seen players get that opportunity and just put up duds. Mm-hmm. Put up, uninspiring performances where it's like I could have probably been better off, going another route, put another player in. So with these late running backs, they might have a high climb to get into that, prominent role for their team. But, and again, we kind of usually look at these as like lottery tickets, right? If they do get that role, if they're talented, you have a player that actually can make a difference for your team for whatever week they happen to play for you. So I'm always looking at, and usually this is going to be the case with your rookies, right? Because we don't know what these rookies are yet. Right. Like we have these assumptions as far as their college performance and what we've heard, but we haven't seen not one of these guys taking an NFL snap. And we can go back every single year and look at even guys that are undrafted, running backs that are drafted late, end up being major fantasy contributors during the season. Right? And these are all guys you can take round 15 and later. So I'm always trying to take a stab on those young rookies that I think are talented, because if I end up hitting one of them, and by this time, again, I'm now looking deep into my bench as far as filling my bench in, that can be a player that can actually be a difference maker for your team.
And one more caveat to this as well. One thing you have to consider if you're like playing in any of these like large field tournaments, these high stake tournaments, is that a lot of people are going to kind of be thinking the same way. If they draft the Roshan Johnson, he's likely not getting dropped. Mm-hmm. You may be lucky in that one league where he's dropped, but for the most part, he's not going to get dropped. So it's almost like if you are doing if you're like, doing a number of entries, some of these guys, you just got to like suck it up and say, you know what, even though I think it's kind of high, if you believe in the talent, like you have to have some of these guys on your team. Because they're not going to be available for pickup on the waiver.
Right. So, you can't wait it out.
Yeah, you don't know which one of these guys is going to like be a significant contributor down later on. So some of these guys, like I make it a point to like try and grab it. And some of them I just like a lot more than others. I have a ton of Tajay Spears.
Yeah.
Because, even that Derrick Henry trade, the idea of him getting traded is probably very low. I just, I still love the talent. And then we saw, who's the other backup from last year? The guy that
Hassan Haskins?
Yeah, we see the issues that happened with Hassan Haskins. Yeah. It's almost like he's walking into just like this lead role. And I love what I saw, on film. And Roshan Johnson's another one. So, some of these guys I definitely love a lot more than others. But like, I'll force myself to take, other guys who I feel like, okay, in some of these shaky situations where, it's very, very cloudy and they could be a league winner. Like you mentioned Kendre Miller, good enough that he's kind of going down the board, but like Kendre Miller's another one. Like we don't know what's going to happen with Kamara. We heard some of the news, but we still don't know what that means. We don't know what his status with the team is. We don't know how they want to use him. And I'm not a huge Jamal Williams fan as far as like his talent. Like I know coaches like him. I know he'll get used, but as far as his talent. So Kendre Miller is, he has all the training camp to make up for like all the issues that he had, or purported issues that he had in OTAs, that's a guy that like we just don't know, and then we could like be looking 2-3 weeks into the season like he's just like he's a league winner.
Yeah, and you made a point that I want to kind of highlight when you were saying how these type of players. The people that do pick these guys up because they're thinking the same way we're thinking now, they end up not dropping them. Mm-hmm. With that being said, if you do have a league you're in and you see any of these guys drop, rush to the waiver wire to pick them up. Like, and most likely there's a reason they're dropped, and we'll probably all understand at that time why they're dropped, right? Like they're not performing at all. They're not dressing out like Abby was saying. Mm-hmm. They messed up. But still, we have to keep in mind these are still going to be young rookies that are still trying to figure it out. The fact that they're even getting any type of burn that early should be a significant plus, right? And then injuries still happen, and again, this is a game of attrition, right? Mm-hmm. Like even if they aren't a thing now, by the time we get into the late part of the season, they might become a thing later. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
So,
all right, guys, let's talk about the Tampa Bay Bucs for a second. Listen, Chris Godwin is being drafted around the 5th round. Mike Evans around the 7th round as well. Guys, they got Baker behind center.
Man, look, Baker is a starter over there, bro. I know people say it's a quarterback competition, but the Buccaneers put something out recently. They're going to be wearing the Dreamsicle or Creamsicle, I'm sorry, uniforms. Mm-hmm. And I always looking for these edges, right? I've always tried to see who are they highlighting in this type of marketing type material, right? They have 3 pictures.
Yeah. Same thing happened with Dalvin Cook, though. Like, remember we were talking about Dalvin Cook?
Yeah.
And James Conner and Marquise Brown.
But again, here's the thing with that Dalvin Cook. Don't try to change the narrative. We knew Dalvin Cook was likely out the door. You were saying they were using that as part of negotiation tactics.
No, you said that it doesn't matter. And
I said you can't negotiate through your graphics.
Nah.
That's what I was saying. Anyways, going back to the creamsicles, they had Baker Mayfield as one of their pictures.
Right.
Yeah. So once, and it was only 3 pictures. I don't even remember the other 2 players.
I mean,
but once I saw that, like, it's over.
Like we do, fantasy football. We do a lot of comps, player comps, team comps, coaching comps, like situation comps. Like this is like literally the perfect situation comp. The 2023 Buccaneers and the 2022 Seahawks. Like, did we not learn our lesson? Did we not learn our lesson?
That's a pretty good one.
Number one, they brought over what was it, the quarterback's coach from the Seahawks?
Well, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, to be the OC of the Buccaneers.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah. So like literally they bought somebody from that situation over to be the OC.
Smart move.
Mm-hmm. And remember, everybody was knocking Geno. Right. Everybody, including myself, like we just like casted them off, just casted them off. Like, this team's not going to be good. I mean, if you can, like, it's so hard to like put yourself back in 2022 and remember how much shit was thrown on Seattle. Like, nobody.
It's funny that you say
that
because in 2021 when he came in to relieve Russ, he actually didn't play bad.
I thought he played okay.
He didn't play bad though. Like he played okay enough to where they didn't have a need to bring somebody else.
He was going to be a starter until he got his jaw broke by that guy in the locker room that time. Remember?
Remember the Jets?
That's what I'm saying.
But the issue was, I think what a lot of people were saying that year in 2021 when he finished the season was like, it was just a low pass volume offense. They were very conservative.
Yeah.
So you had that going into mind. You're like, it's Geno Smith. They're just going to run the ball. It's a low pass volume offense.
Yeah.
They drafted Kenneth Walker. They had Rashad Penny. It was just like it was Pete
Ground
Carroll.
and pound.
Yeah, ground and pound. Like, nobody wanted any of that. Yeah. An older Lockett. So there were all these situations. But guess what happened? Whether it was designed or not, their defense was not that good. They had to throw the ball some. Volume was there. Geno Smith showed out, but I think the biggest thing to take away, and this is why I'm seeing this as such as a major comp outside of what we already discussed, is it was a very narrow target tree, like a very narrow target tree. Like, it went through Lockett and it went through DK, and then everybody else just kind of got scraps here or there. Lockett, DK, Lockett, DK, Lockett, DK, and then so again, now looking at the Buccaneers, okay, again they brought over personnel from the Seahawks. Can we look up the dude's name? Because we actually need to give him credit. For whatever reason, I can't remember. I can't recall his name. But They brought over Seattle's, quarterbacks coach. He was now the OC. Who else in that offense outside of Mike Evans and Chris Godwin is a threat in the passing game?
Cade Otton.
But who's like a legit, like who's?
Oh,
like
no, but those are two main guys.
Yeah, those are two main guys, right? Yeah. So that is like, that is as good a comp as you can get.
Right,
now,
right.
let's also remember, I think the other issue is that we're using Tampa Bay's stats. We're using Tampa Bay's sort of kind of our memory from 2022. I think is clouded what Evans and what Godwin could be, irrespective of the quarterback. Because Tom Brady was sort of kind of obviously at the end of his ropes. And he was just dumping off to running backs. Like his running backs, saw like 200 targets? I may be just like throwing that number out there, but they saw a lot of targets, okay? That was a completely different offense, a completely different quarterback. Mm-hmm. So I think all those targets that went to Leonard Fournette and all those targets that went to Rachaad White, now they can be actually efficient targets going to playmakers,
right?
And actually have an efficient offense. The other thing that I love about these guys is Dave Canales. Sorry, Dave.
I've never heard this dude's name in my life.
My bad, Dave. But the other thing, too, is that, like, red zone. So they don't really have an elite O-line. They don't really have an elite running back by the metrics. Or a true, like, guy who can just, like, who you can just be very confident in the red zone and at the goal line. Yeah. Like, this is not a team that I think, okay, once they get into the 20s, once they get into the 10, or even when they get into the 5, like, they're just going to be able to hand it off 2 or 3 times. I think they're going to have to get very creative. And so when I'm looking at Godwin and I'm looking at Mike Evans, particularly Mike Evans, and we have really no other like true elite red zone threat or even just above average red zone threat, like I could easily see a situation where Mike Evans has double-digit TDs. Is it going to be a high-powered offense? No, but it doesn't need to be. The last thing is that I don't know how good their defense is going to be. I really don't. I don't know how good their defense is going to be. So if it's a narrow target tree, okay, and we're just funneling things to Evans, Godwin, Godwin, and they don't really have an elite running back where they can just like really just kind of pound and ground. I don't think they have an elite defense. This team to me is just like on shaky grounds. Yeah. Like I thought they were going to be kind of in rebuild. I think a lot of people maybe considered the idea of like Mike Evans being moved. But they really, I don't know. This team is kind of in limbo in terms of like what they're doing. And then they brought in Baker Mayfield. This is definitely a team based off of like where these players are going. I'm in a main recently, kind of took a little where I went light on wide receiver early on and had Evans fall to me right there in the 8th. Like I love that.
Evans is a big value this year.
I love that.
From what I've been seeing.
I like Godwin
Evans
too.
A lot. I like Godwin a lot too. I like both of them. Honestly, I like them and didn't even take into consideration everything that you said, which actually is selling me much more. I mean, Evans just one of those type of players I just like having on my team because he has the ability to have those big games. He had a 48-point game last year. He like had a week where he literally carried your whole team. And I like having those type of players because especially when you get them later, those can be things that kind of put you over the top, especially when you're talking about tournaments. And Godwin, he just missed a consistent. Last year he came to the season injured. Remember, like he didn't even come in immediately healthy. Once he kind of got the reps or the snaps, he was producing immediately. Like day one, and he was putting up like high double digits as far as in the high teens and young or low 20s.
Second year off the ACL.
Right.
And this is second year off the ACL.
I mean, I like both of them. I think both of them are going way, way too late. And again, you made so many great points. I really don't have much to add to there. But I will say this.
You also mentioned Geno Smith playing okay or well at the end of the year.
Baker did pretty okay last year with the Rams.
Exactly.
Yeah. Kind of trying to have a resurgence.
Y'all completely overlooked the fact that a man slugged. Do you know how much disrespect you have to have for a quarterback to punch him in the face?
That was like 10 years ago, though. That was a long time ago.
To break his jaw for him to miss it.
That's bygones. They
learned a lot.
Do you know how much disrespect?
But
they wrote me off, but I ain't right back.
One thing, and last week during our overtime episode, by the way, check our overtime episodes out. We kind of extended a little bit of a different cut. But one guy I forgot to mention because we were talking about tight ends last week was Cade Otton. And I really, really like Cade Otton this year. I think he's being super slept on. If you even just kind of go back to who Cade Otton was, this is a guy the Buccaneers traded up to draft last year. 4th round pick, but they traded up to the very beginning of the 4th round 2 pick. So he was the first pick taken on day 3 of the draft. Last year he shared the reps with Cameron Brate, and even while sharing the reps, if you actually go look at Cade Otton's numbers, he actually did very good.
Yep.
You're talking about a rookie tight end. We always talk about how tight ends, they have this learning curve where it kind of takes them time to become productive. This guy came out the gate being productive.
Yeah, from weeks.
I think he had a game where he had like 10 targets.
Yeah, so from weeks like let's say week 6 on, if we look at his target distribution, 5 targets, 10 targets.
Yeah, 10 targets versus the Saints.
6 targets, 5
7
targets, 5 targets, 3, 7, 4. So that, like, those are some, like, for a rookie tight end.
Yeah, and again, he was sharing with Cameron Brate, who's not out the door right now, right? And this is gonna be my 3rd week even bringing it up, but that underdog video, the dude that did that study, he basically pointed out how tight ends have the biggest jump between year 1 and year 2. So all those things align to Cade Otton being a huge value, because if you look in draft, if you go to the tight end screen, Cade Otton is below like 3rd string tight ends.
Yeah.
That's how low he is. Like, he's somebody that nobody is debating whether he's going to start right now, and he's being taken so low, if taken at all. You know, so
it's the easiest 20th round pick that you can make.
Right. So, you know, definitely a player that I did want to mention. But yeah, again, like Abby was saying, I agree with all those points. I love Mike Evans this year. I think he's going way too late, because who's to say Mike Evans might not be their wide receiver 1 this season?
That 45-point game happened at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And he had a lot of drops. There was like some.
He had a Brady
drops.
He had a Brady who didn't have his deep ball like he used to have.
There was just like a huge disconnect there. I just think that team just realized that, like, all right, this ain't gonna be the year.
Also, I don't want to say it's every year of his career, and it might be, but I know he has a streak going on of having 1,000-yard seasons.
Yeah.
And he spoke recently about the fact that he wants to continue that streak. Yeah. So it's almost like, and I'm not saying they're just going to go out of their way to just say, okay, let's get him these 1,000 yards, but it's almost like if he gets close to it, they are going to probably try to make sure he reaches that threshold.
And this is the thing, too.
I think that's again, a great option.
Baker's not a scrambler. And Baker's not necessarily one who just, like, dumps it off to his quarterbacks.
Right.
And if you remember back to, you know, I keep bringing it up about Dalton going YOLO trying to prove something. What do you think? Y'all know Baker. Yeah. Y'all seen the Baker videos. Y'all seen Baker on the sideline. What do you think Baker's going to be doing this year? You think he's really going to go out there and be dumping it off to, like, a Rashad White, trying to, like, game plan? Or you think he's going to go out there and try to earn a contract? That man is going to feed the guys who are potentially going to get him a contract. That is Chris Godwin, and that is Mike Evans. Who else on that team is going to get Baker a contract?
Yeah. Look at these
Mike Evans. Get this man paid. Let's go.
Look at these Mike Evans target distribution. Yeah. Like, this dude is having 9 targets.
Yeah.
9,
now, granted, they
12,
threw a lot
11,
last year.
15.
They threw a lot last year.
That's crazy.
Still, going to be very, very concentrated.
Yeah. Is Rashad White at this point, is he a trap horse still? Because we all see him as the day 1 starter. I'm not sure, as we talked about earlier, he's going to finish the season as a starter. But considering where he's going in drafts, is he a trap or is he a steal at this point?
You know, I'm considered – I think I'm, like, at the point right now where anytime I hear somebody say somebody's a value, I think, like, probably 75% of the time it's really a trap. Like, you can be a value, but it's still a trap. Because it's like, like, they may finish, you know, like, the end of the year, you may look back and it's like, okay, they beat out their ADP. But then you may look back and be like, man, I didn't feel comfortable starting him. When he, you know, like when he exploded, he was on my bench. Or it was just a lot of just like garbage weeks, or a lot of just weeks that were just kind of just meh. And because he didn't get hurt, like, and everybody else did, like, he just somehow like found his way to be like a top 24 running back.
But is that what you think is going on with him? Because
no,
I don't think he's dropping at all.
No. For me, Rashad White, I think is
6th round.
I wouldn't necessarily.
He's a 6th rounder.
Yeah, he's a 6th rounder. I wouldn't call him a trap for sure. I wouldn't call him a value because it's not where Rashad White is going, really. It's where all the running backs are going. And because when you look at all the running backs that are going around him, like that's market value. That's market value for a running back of his ilk, okay, of his talent. So it's not a steal. It's not a trap, really. I think it's like a gamble. I call it a gamble. It's a gamble for 2 reasons. One is unless he is just at the end of that long tier of these running backs that you grab, like, it's a gamble that you pick him versus somebody else that's going in that range. Like, because sometimes you'll see him go before Sanders, you'll see him go before Cam Akers, sometimes you'll see him go before Alexander Madison. You know, if you're a believer in DeAndre Swift, right now his ADP is over Dameon Pierce. Even someone like a James Conner or David Montgomery or Dalvin Cook, what we don't know, it's a gamble for you to say, I'm going to take Rachaad White or be overweight on Rachaad White and then not take some of these other players, because if he doesn't hit, like there's going to be multiple running backs in this range that hit. And there's going to be some that just don't hit at all. So it's a gamble just to kind of lock in on one and be like super overweight on one. So you better be very, very confident. It's also a gamble because we're early on right now, and this is a team where I could easily see them bringing in a vet. And if they bring in a vet, now we got issues.
Oh, yeah. He's dead at that point.
How do you feel about Rachaad White, though, as a player?
Yeah, man, go back to 2022. I told y'all last year I was not a Rachaad White fan. I said that like this dude is just I watched his tape and I was like, all his highlights of him just running through wide open holes, catching these easy screens, like there's nothing special with him at all. Yeah. That being said, if they don't bring anybody else in, like, and he's the only one there, you know, I think Chase Edmonds has kind of proven what he's proven. Sean Tucker, like I like him coming in, but like I don't even know if he's gonna make the team. Like I think his health
he has
issues
an easier chance than others. The fact that there's not much competition.
Yeah, I think it'll depend on his like health issues, and so that's a hard thing. Like I remember early in the draft season, I was like, let me just take him every time in like the last few rounds, and like now I'm just like, you know, maybe it's just like lack of news. I think I've heard a lot of things about, you know, he's by no means at all a lock for the roster spot, and that his like health is still very much up in the air. Yeah. So, you know, for me, Rachaad White is just kind of like he's going to be like a volume play. Somebody's like, you know, not going to be efficient. I think the offensive line will be better than it was last year, but I don't think like all those Brady passes like to the dump offs to the running backs. I just think we see a lot of that dried up, and you have Chase Edmonds there. So that's the other thing, too, is like I think we completely forgot about Chase Edmonds. Remember, everybody was so excited to draft Chase Edmonds as a handcuff, and then him overtaking Connor or whoever it was with the Cardinals. And now nobody wants to touch him at all. But he signed on to Tampa Bay. He's not signing on to be an in-between the tackles running back. He got signed early in the offseason. Yeah. So maybe he is a third down back.
Chris, what is this?
What?
What is this draft? Somebody took Sean Tucker in the 12th round?
Man, just keep potting. Like, this is our next question.
What?
This is it.
Wow.
Was this like one of the first boards that was sent out?
This was one of the first boards. And so I guess let's get to the next question. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, so let's get to the question.
Wow.
So my question was going to be, hey, like, have we gone a long way?
Wait, this is my squad? CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra, Ramondre, Najee Harris, Jerry Jeudy, Lamar Jackson, Tyler Lockett, Trey Burks. Y'all can stop drafting right now. Y'all can stop drafting right now. All right, that team is sick.
All right.
I see you took CD.
That's like the only CeeDee Lamb share I had.
All right. Can I get to the question?
Yeah.
All right, so the question was going to be,
I'm still
but now
shocked
you know
at Sean
who
Tucker.
AB's team is. Listen, guys, based on, have we gone a long way without realizing it when it comes to the changing draft boards? I know a lot of people haven't been posting their boards lately. Yeah. It looks like the last week or so, we're starting to see a few
people keeping it tight to the vest.
Tight to the vest.
Tight to the vest.
Have we come a long way without even realizing it? I want you guys to take a look at this board. This is one of the first boards I think you drafted in. You put into the group chat. Like, think about where this board is right now. How good do you feel about this team? I mean, like, this is a pretty decent team.
I mean, if you just like look at this team versus current ADP, and you just think from like a market analytical standpoint, like, remove all opinions aside, like, this is a damn good team. Like, this is like, you know, the basics of like how I draft, which is like win each round, you know, get a value in each round based on ADP. Like, I think a lot of people are just successful just by basically kind of doing what Dale does, like, which is just like, you know, who's falling past ADP? Let me just get them. And then you just like mass accumulate them. And then like, you know, at the end you look and see like, I got three third rounders, you know, with, you know, between rounds 4 and 6, I got, you know, a 5th rounder in round 7. I got a 6th rounder in round 9. And those things add up. And then you look at other teams, and that's how you beat other teams. So, you know, CD and Amon-Ra, there's nothing special about that start. You know, this is like 95% of my teams. I try to just lock in 2 wide receivers. My mindset is starting to change with that a little bit. With some of these running backs like we talked about before. We'll see where I kind of end up on that. And then Ramondre falling to like the late third, 311, I think is nice value. So I drafted out of the 11th spot. Najee, you know, I just recently passed on him at 4.
You passed on Gibbs. You passed on Gibbs too.
I passed on Gibbs there. So like if I had to do it over,
definitely
like
done that.
I definitely would have switched that up.
Yeah.
This is before Gibbs got drafted. This is before the draft.
You did this before the draft?
This is before the draft because you can see.
Wow,
that's why Kenneth Walker. This is the best time to draft. This is the best time to draft. Look, because then like I got Jerry Jeudy in the late 5th, and I don't have like this is like one of my few shares of Jerry Jeudy. I got Lamar Jackson in the 6th round.
Yeah, when people still didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah, Tyler Lockett in the 7th is not that uncommon. Treylon Burks in the 8th. You're not seeing a lot of those.
Sweet spot. That's when I was taking him.
And then the rest, I mean, A.J. Dillon in the 10th. You know, the rest is kind of here or there. Scroll down. Who? Scroll down. This is when you can get handcuffs easy too, like Jerome Ford.
One of the biggest things I see with this board, and not your specific team, but just where Kenneth Walker went. He was a mid-second rounder at this time.
Yep.
And now he's falling to like what did you just take him in a recent draft? The 5th, 6th?
6th round.
6th round.
I took him at 601 just to make a point, make a statement. I got me some 6th round Kenneth Walker.
Because sometimes you look at guys falling, right? And then you start to be like, almost like the same way they think probably in the real draft. Why is this guy falling?
Yeah.
There is a mind effect. Like what's the guy passing? ADP? It was like, no.
This ain't smelling right.
You start looking at Twitter like, did I miss something?
Go in the chat. Why is all y'all skipping this player right now?
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be the sucker, right? You want to be more like, yes.
That's exactly why I sent out that tweet. Like, is it a value or is it a trap play? Yeah. Because everybody passed on Najee Harris. Basically in the 3rd and pretty much in the 4th.
Somebody got to draft Najee, right?
Somebody got to draft him.
And you can't let him go in the 5th, right?
Nah.
The fact that he's in the 4th now, because I know at one point he's probably in the late 3rd, right?
But this
so
is the
now
thing.
you see it's like you gotta take him, but it's like nobody feels good.
But this is the thing, and this is where I'm at, and this is why I figured it. And this is why you gotta like. This is like where you got to make a stand on, because clearly the divide between Najee is he like the Najee of 2021 with that type of workload? Remove like what you think of him from like an athletic standpoint, or is Jaylen Warren taking a significant portion? Is that offense taking a jump, and you're kind of seeing a little bit more from the past? Like is he truly getting that elite bell cow workload? Because if he's a bell cow, it doesn't matter how he performs. He should be in the 3rd round. You could even maybe arguing for like in the back of the 2nd. But I think most people are figuring that he's not a bell cow, which is why he's falling. And if he's not a bell cow, well, then at that point, honestly, he should be basically
in the 5th, 6th.
5th, 6th, exactly, exactly.
So he's almost like in a limbo spot right now.
Exactly.
It's like you're either getting a value or you're reaching.
And it's not just that you're taking him there. It's also that you're passing on all these other guys. So that's kind of where I came to that realization. I was like, all right, no more Najee.
Man, Damian Pierce might have slid a little bit too, because he's in the 5th here. He's what? 6th,
no, this
7th?
is actually before. This is he slid. He's
Doesn't he go in the 5th though? He goes in the 5th. Early.
He goes
5th.
in the back. He goes in the back of the 5th.
It can't be
6th.
no more than the. I'm talking about right now.
Right now he goes in the 6th.
So you're saying he slipped in?
Yeah,
he's
slipped.
falling.
Yeah,
Okay,
he's
got you.
He's falling a little bit.
Yeah.
It's a crazy board. Yeah, some of those early boards are like crazy, because that's also too where people are just kind of like just guessing. Like you saw JSN going like real early in pretty much almost all drafts. Zach Charbonnet, Gibbs is always kind of around the 4th round, and I was just like, you know what, I'll just wait. Like I'll just wait. So I think waiting, paid off a little bit.
Is anyone drafting Breida?
That's a good question, because I think
let's say
and I wanted to actually talk about that. Yeah. If Barkley doesn't show up, who is it going to benefit? Because I don't think anybody's talking about the backup.
Yeah, like nobody's talking about.
And the backup Breida is the guy people remember, but the backup might be that rookie from Oklahoma. And maybe it's my dynasty mind just being rookie biased, but Eric Gray is a pretty nice player.
I've never seen him play. Watch
some Oklahoma tape. He's pretty good. He's compact. He's not a big dude. Maybe J.K. Dobbins side. But he's a solid running back.
Yeah, that's definitely a team I feel like would bring somebody in.
Yeah, I do agree with that, though. I do feel like they'll bring somebody in. Because if they're not going to pay Barkley, you got money.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just pass on drafting any of those guys. Yeah,
You're not going to take a stab on any of them? Because I think all of them are undrafted right now.
I'd rather just take a stab on like a Fournette or Zeke or somebody like that because I feel like they would.
But you get Fournette and Zeke like in the, 16th, 17th round?
Yeah.
These are guys more I'm saying you could take like 20th round, like the last round.
I'd rather take a Cade Otton.
Who's Cade Otton?
Cade Otton.
Cade Otton?
Yeah.
Yeah. But look, my goal is to increase Cade Otton's ADP.
Oh, that's your
before
goal
the
now.
Summer. Yeah. I feel like people gotta respect that dude a little bit.
Yeah, I got caught it for sure. So you don't gotta sell me. I believe you.
But so you're not taking any of the guys. Chris, what about you? You're just gonna ignore all the backup running backs?
No, like I'll take a stab at Breida, but I can also see someone like Zeke coming into the.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, they can obviously bring somebody in, but if they don't, right?
Right.
If they don't, because all we know is what we know, and right now we know those are the running backs on the roster. I maybe want to go back and look and see their mini camp reports. Who is actually getting first team reps at running back?
Yeah,
because Barkley was there. Breida.
It should be
Breida and Brightwell.
He knows the offense.
Yeah, probably.
I doubt Eric Gray was getting run over those guys in OTAs.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, you're probably right.
Well, let's also talk about DeAndre Hopkins as well. So there's some news that dropped that the chances of him landing in Tennessee improved. Vegas is saying that it's
was it really news, or did somebody just put out the fact that DraftKings changed the odds and that just stirred everything up?
Yeah.
Was it actually a report anyway?
Yeah, like Vegas changed the odds. Yeah.
Man, I hate
Was it Vegas or DraftKings?
Well, they're kind of one and the same when you.
Okay,
really
I got you.
It. But yeah, minus.
Because I didn't understand it.
I hate it when it's my player. Like, I don't mind it when it's somebody else. No. I'm just saying, like Burks.
Burks.
Are you talking about
like,
Burks?
Yeah, like when news drops it, like stuff like this, like he may go to some place. I'm like, yeah, go there because I don't got none of them guys.
Yeah.
I don't got none of them. Like you want to go to the Patriots? Yeah, go there. Like, you want to go to KC? Go there. I don't got none of them guys. But then he's like, you want to go to Tennessee? Damn.
Yeah.
But you knew this was a possibility though, right?
I did. And
you were still drafting like.
I was still drafting. I would still draft him.
I still don't see it though.
I would still draft him.
No, I don't see why Hopkins would go there. Like, if you're saying, hey, I want to go to...
Cash rules everything around me.
No, but he said that he wanted to go to a Super Bowl contending team.
But he also wanted his money. Did y'all see that tweet that came out this week?
Stop.
What?
It was a basketball tweet. It was a basketball tweet, but same premise.
What?
It was Harden and Robert Horry.
Yeah.
Would you rather make $52 million in your career and have 6, 7 rings, or would you rather make $300 million in your career and have no rings?
$300 million.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm taking $300 million. Then I'll just sign up for the big three.
Right.
I get a couple checks. I sign up in a lifetime. A couple of leagues.
Hopkins
run it. Get my trophy.
You know what's funny? Hopkins put out a tweet. Maybe it was yesterday where somebody put the Buffalo Bills are willing to bring in Hopkins if he's willing to take a little bit less and ring chase.
Yeah.
And Hopkins, he was like, hell no. He put something was like, nah, I ain't doing that.
Yeah. By the way, like, what you're talking about. By the way, what you're talking about is what Drake did. He started his own tournament, ran his own team, and then won the championship of his own tournament.
Y'all may laugh, but it feels good regardless. When you win a championship,
champagne bottle pouring everywhere, everything.
We used to run it in intramurals, and even though it was intramurals, we did not care.
Nah, that was serious.
We did not care. It was serious. Like that was life or death. Life or death. Champagne bottles.
So going back to your
goggles on.
Ski goggles, yeah. Going back to your original question, if they didn't have Barkley, I think it hurts the offense a lot because I still don't respect any of the receivers they have on their team.
You better respect Isaiah Hodgins.
You better put some
You're
respect
a big
on Danny
Hodgins fan.
Dimes. I know Isaiah Hodgins love is odd.
Where does that come from?
All right, man.
He must have won him some money last year. Maybe the DFS or something.
Something.
All right, man. Y'all better.
No, but I definitely think it's gonna hurt him a lot. So
Yeah,
I mean, hurt the offense a lot.
Maybe, but don't forget Daniel Jones ran quite a bit last season. He may be having to,
But he was able to run because people literally let's start Barkley and we don't really care about nobody else.
Yeah, but that means that there's a lot of people inside the box, which means that Well, I
that
guess
a lot of people.
But if Barkley's not there,
a lot of people in the box are going that way. Well, Barkley was going, he went that way.
He's still gonna be running, but he's gonna be running for his life. He's gonna be trying to scramble like crazy. He'll still be running.
There is that one play where like Daniel Jones had this long run off a play action, and you're right. Barkley was that way.
Yeah. He went that way. Everybody went that way. He went this way.
Yeah.
Like, I can see it though. I can see it. Darren Waller's there though, so they still have some passing options. I don't know. I just think that maybe this is without Saquon being there. Maybe Daniel Jones. Passing.
I would actually lean on Daniel Jones because I just think the passing volume would just like increase because I just think they would not really be able to run. But I also like him being in the second year. I do like the additional weapons and some of the guys that will be coming back from injury. Yeah. So there's like actual depth there now too as well. Yeah. And he can still run, and I think he will be forced to do more. I'm gonna go ahead. You throw out another comp. Just the easiest, obvious. Basic. If you want to call it that, just a Josh Allen. I don't think he doesn't need to get to like number one QB overall. Right. He just needs to be like a top 12 QB. And I think, and he was basically pretty much that last year.
Yeah.
Now he's got another year in the offense. He's got better weapons. And if you take away Saquon, who carried so much of the offense last year, that has to like transfer to Daniel Jones, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Can we go back to the Treylon Burks discussion?
Go ahead.
Because if they do get D-Hop, you're out on Burks? You're out, right?
Yeah, so like with all the rumors, I don't care. Like, rumors like him, like his depressed ADP with the rumors. I love that. Like, so if it's gonna drop his ADP, like you said, like like back in, like, or let's get more. Let's get more.
But if he
actually signs, I'm out.
You're out.
Yeah, I'll just hold on to my shares and just like hope for the best. I don't hope for injuries, but. Yeah,
you don't think that offense? You don't think that offense, and obviously we know what they've been in the past, but you don't think that offense can probably evolve into an offense that can support both of them, or even maybe an offense where Burks ends up actually being the main option, and Hopkins is more. I mean, people are saying Hopkins lost a little bit of a step. What if it's actually true? And don't forget, Burks was a first-round pick last year. The talent is there. People actually saw Burks as like. Going into the draft as like a top 2-3 wide receiver. He battled injuries last year. And he's the one that everybody, this whole offseason, he's been getting all the buzz. Yeah. Right? Everybody's talking about Burks. Man, Burks look like he's going to do something this year. Burks lost some weight. Burks now can breathe, because he's dealing with asthma or something last year. You think they're just going to put all that in the bottom and say, you know what? Scratch that, D-Hop.
Not scratch that. So a couple different things. So like there's only like,
and you're always talking about the YOLO Tannehill too.
I'm about to get to that. I'm about to get to that.
Okay, got you.
Yeah, you over there? I'm about to get over here. So like my issue. So say D-Hop signs tomorrow. Yeah. Okay. There's two players that
I kind of thought what was happening when I started getting all those buzz reports. Like, what's going on?
There's two players that I'm gonna hammer in drafts now. Derrick Henry, who I'm already kind of like on right now, but I'm gonna start hammering him. I'm gonna just bring him up my ranks, and then Tannehill. Like I'll just start grabbing 20th round Tannehill now, as much as I can. But I don't think that Tannehill can sustain two wide receivers that can offer basically consistency on a week to week basis. Meaning that for the way that I draft, if it's non-best ball and best ball, then I think that his ADP. Dropped significantly with Hopkins signing. Yeah, that's a place where you want to definitely grab him. But
can you put up the draft board, Chris? I want to see something real quick.
But in redraft, like I cannot trust with having D-Hop on a team where like that's just a guy that like vets just like quarterbacks just love to go to D-Hop. Best hands in the game, and he doesn't need to get open. He just creates leverage. He's just a savvy vet. Like. He's never really been a speed guy to begin with, and I don't think when he was healthy last year, his metrics were really all that, off. So, I'm out on drafting Treylon Burks in redraft because I don't like drafting wide receivers where I got to guess what week they're gonna go off.
Right.
Right. And that they've just never been an offense that like has literally had any significant amount of pass volume. But maybe it may dictate it. Maybe it's a Seattle situation.
So, and obviously, I'm just making a total assumption. So I'm just I guess you could say educated guess, but I think the day, like you're saying, the day D-Hop signs, or maybe a couple of days after that when the dust settles, I think Burks' ADP is actually going to drop to like the 9th round. And I'm saying that because going into the season or going into the draft season, I was picking up Burks in the 8th round, and that's when nothing.
Yeah.
There's no competition. There's nothing. Everybody knew most likely he was the wide receiver 1, and he was going in the 8th. And then with all that buzz, he's been kind of creeping up. Now in this, he's in the 6th. So now if you add D-Hop, and if people are thinking the way you think, and I think most people are going to think that way, I think he's going to free fall. So then the question is, and let's give it a little bit of leeway. So let's say it's more the 8th. Mm-hmm. So if we put Burks right now in the 8th round, are you saying you would prefer the other receivers there instead of Burks?
See, is this the ADP? Oh, this is this draft. Which
no,
draft
this is the ADP.
That's the ADP board.
This is the this is the current ADP board.
Yeah, this is the ADP board.
Man, I don't like none of those players in the 8th.
That's what I'm saying. So would you say, well,
actually no, I'll take that back. Okay, so I would take. I don't really like AJ Dillon in the 8th.
Gabe.
I'd definitely take Gabe Davis over him.
Over Burks?
Yeah, I would take Burks over Quentin Johnson.
Wait. Why Gabe Davis over Burks? Is it just because the offense and Josh Allen?
Offense, pass volume.
Keep in mind, Gabe Davis was a 4th. I mean, he's shown a little bit, but just
people
strictly talent, right?
Yeah.
Gabe Davis is not looked at as well as how Burks was looked at at all.
That's why I take the situation into account.
Yeah.
And
but guess what? Gabe Davis is, even last year when he was like, people just hated him and hate him for what he still outperformed Burks last year in a bad year on a high
Burks
ankle sprain.
Burks was also coming in the season injured.
Gabe Davis played through a high ankle sprain.
Yeah. Okay. I mean,
and his quarterback had an arm injury.
I just that's the type of player. Burks is the type of player I would definitely. Again, because now you're getting a discount on him.
Mm-hmm. That's the thing where I can't argue against that because you don't know what's going to happen in season. We've seen D-Hop be hurt for like multiple games now. So, like Treylon Burks is like a guy you want to have because like he's a guy that can like go off. He's a guy that can like have multiple week stretches of like potentially 20+ points, I believe, with the healthy Tannehill.
Right.
Yeah. So like that's a guy that like I couldn't argue.
So what about Ozigbo? I mean, what am I saying? Not Ozigbo. I keep calling him Ozigbo.
Oh yeah, the tight end.
Okonkwo.
Yeah,
Okonkwo. Sorry, Okonkwo. Sorry.
Bro, that's your people. How do you like?
Because I've never really looked at his name. Everybody calls him Chick, so I just out of sight, out of mind. But what do you think about him? You think he's undraftable at this point, or is he still?
I have 0 shares currently, so.
But I mean, right now his ADP is a 9th round. If he falls to the 11th round, are you drafting him?
Probably not.
Okay. So he pretty much wipes him off.
No, I like so many tight ends that go after him.
Okay. I mean, he's the tight end everybody's talking up right now. So I'm kind of curious to see what happens to his.
That's a good point though.
His ADP once D-Hop signs.
What about Elijah Moore or Treylon Burks if D-Hop signs?
I think there's a chance Elijah Moore is the wide receiver 1 in the Browns.
Yeah, man, we talk
so
about
that's it's really more so like your Quentin Johnson or your Addison or even your Cooks. I think I would like Burks over all those guys.
Jordan Addison too? What if he's the number 2 in that offense? That's a high. Oh, that was the answer to the quiz. So I dropped the quiz.
The Vikings?
I dropped the quiz in the group chat. None of these dudes responded. They just completely.
I responded. What are you talking about? No. I responded.
You're the only one to respond.
I responded.
They offered one guess. I was like, all right.
Hey, I gave my guess.
Shout out to Player Profile because this is where I got this stat. So I like just kind of going through different sites and seeing what analytics they had to offer. So basically, I just looked at like red zone targets last year, and I was scrolling through because these are things that like you just like. Some players just didn't get lucky. And this is why I was on DK so early on in the season because, like, he had 20+ like end zone targets and just like didn't hit. And he had a lot of targets, and it was just like not his receptions just like he had a lower conversion rate when it came to that. So that's a guy that like is potentially a bounce back candidate. If JSN is not taking too much of the pie, but when I was looking through the list and I was sorting by like just like play, receivers, tight ends, with and even running backs as far as red zone targets, there were 3 players from the same team in like the top 12. I put the top 15 in the chat, but it was like the top 12, and they were all Minnesota Vikings. Jefferson was up there, so this that made me like now reconsider. Not that it matters again, like, you know, the debate between Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, but now I'm back on the Justin Jefferson train.
Okay.
You know, I'm back on that train.
All right.
Because that dude just like by and far like led the league in targets, but I didn't realize like how many red zone targets he had last year. Mm-hmm. And then the next one I think was like Adam Thielen. So even though he didn't convert, and we know like, you know, Cousins liked Adam Thielen in the red zone like years previously. And then the other one was like TJ Hawkinson. So that was 3 top 12 like receiving options who had like red zone targets. So then I started thinking, I was like, what's really going to change with this team? Like if anything, like that potentially could go up because they don't have Dalvin Cook. Right. Like we know that like Madison is, some of us can argue he's serviceable, but he's not Dalvin Cook, or he wasn't Dalvin Cook in the past, right? So is he just going to like eat up like a lot more red zone work? Are they not going to be able to like run the ball in the red zone? Like a lot more efficiency? Probably not. Like he may get more TDs, but it's not like he's just a more efficient or a better, you know, goal line back than Dalvin Cook was. So that situation didn't get better. The offense didn't change. Still same head coach, same offensive coordinator. The line's the same. The quarterback's the same. The defense is worse. Like the personnel is worse. So there's really not much that has changed with that team. So like I'm thinking to myself like, Kirk Cousins is going to be throwing still a lot when he's in the red zone, when he's in the 20, when he's in the 10, when he's in the 5, and at the goal line. Like, I think we still see a lot of, like, red zone work. So that kind of gets me back to the main point. Justin Jefferson, obvious. TJ Hawkinson in the red zone seems like a potential obvious for just getting targets. And then, like, who's that third guy? Jordan Addison.
So you don't think Osborne is a threat at all?
No, I think Osborne is who he is, and I think if they thought he was a threat, then they wouldn't have drafted Jordan Addison when they drafted him.
Who's the three who are the 3 guys for the Vikings you were speaking of?
Jefferson, Thielen, and Hawkinson.
See, that's why I didn't guess that. In the text message, you put 3 wide receivers.
No, I put the 3 receiving options. I was
go back.
Sneaky like that.
I'll go back.
Let's go back.
I'll go back and check.
Sneaky like that. Nah.
Listen, guys, if you are enjoying this content, it is just content. Just like remember that Samuel L. Jackson character on Fresh when he was playing chess and he was like, if you put anybody on the clock, I can play with the best of them. These guys are going to be on the clock towards the end of the season.
Have you watched that, whatever he's talking about?
Y'all have never seen Fresh?
Talking about.
Y'all have never seen Fresh?
Like, sure.
You never seen Fresh? Seriously?
No, I haven't seen Fresh.
If we haven't seen it, I doubt the audience is aware.
Yeah, but it's all right. Let's roll with it.
How many of y'all, let us know. Hit us up on Twitter. How many of y'all know anything, know what this man's talking about?
Man.
Towards the end of the season, these 2 guys are going to be on the clock. All this analysis is actually going to be put into practice. We're going to do 2 live drafts. If you want to see those 2 live drafts, please follow us on 1st and 15. On our YouTube channel, we're going to do 2 live drafts, and these guys are actually going to talk through their analysis as they make real picks. Because it's one thing to give your opinion. It's another thing to be on the clock, because the clock makes it's truth serum. So we're going to do 2 live drafts towards the end of the season. Please like, rate, subscribe this episode, guys, and follow us on 1st and 15. Also follow us on Player Profiler.
I got to say my Dynasty people.
Oh, here we
but
go.
I don't even have any players. I just want to kind of make a comment.
All right, go ahead.
I'm starting noticing a lot of these drafts, and people know they're doing it, but it's just, and I don't really understand it, but it just feel like it needs to be spoken on. I'm seeing way too many running back 3s or wide receiver 3, 4 options going before running back 2s and wide receiver 2 options, right? And I think we're jumping the shark a little bit in doing that. And I don't really understand why you're taking one player that needs 2 to jump over 2 players, whether due to injury or role, and ignoring other, like, for instance,
Quentin Johnson over Michael Thomas.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
you know, or like nobody drafting the backup running back for the Colts. Nobody drafting the backup running back for the Giants.
Yeah,
but we're taking these other guys real late. Like the Bears running back 3, the Dolphins running back 3. And of course these guys have talent, but
well, that's a little different because with the Bears, I don't think any of us know who's truly going to be
1, 2, or 3 is.
Right. Yeah, like who the winner.
But we're taking stabs on all of them, and you can kind of go even further down
because you can tell yourself that, hey, like Khalil Herbert is going to be the starter.
Yeah,
I can tell myself, the fourth.
But I'm saying, like, you're looking at, and you can go further. You talking about your Ty Chandlers and your Dwayne McBride. Dwayne McBride still at the bottom. He still has to jump over 2 players.
Yeah,
you're looking at guys that, and again, it's kind of contradictory what I was saying earlier as far as the talent. But there's running backs that have talent, that you can take real late, and we're just totally not even looking at the situation. Like today, we were talking about the Giants. Mm-hmm. Nobody's looking at the backup running back situation for the Giants, and I think that's just something that we're not taking into account, and I think that's a mistake.
All right, guys, that's it for this week. Please like, rate, subscribe. We're out.